My calculations are correct. When this baby hits 88 miles per hour, you're gonna see some serious shit.
Good evening and welcome, ladies and gentlemen. This is the VRG Virtual Racer League coming at you tonight from Summit Point Motorsports Park. This is race 2 of our open wheel sprint series. Tonight we're kicking it off at 8 p.m. A little bit different format here for you here in Season 6. Pull that up for you here so we can let you know just how things are going to run this evening. Changing it up a little bit here with these open wheel series. We're actually going to have 2 races at the end of the evening. We're going to kick this off with a 30-minute practice session. Then we're going to have 15 minutes of 3-lap solo qualifying. and then followed up by 2 20-minute sprint races, and I believe we're going to invert the grid there on that second race. This is Ian Wisman broadcasting for you this evening from the VRG VRL. I'm sitting in for Jim Karamanis. He's sitting this one out this evening, so I'm jumping into the broadcast booth. We hope you get better soon, Jim, so I can get back in the race car next week. So we're going to pick up with some practice action here, followed by our solo qualifying sessions and our 2 20-minute sprint races here. The VRG VRL at Summit Point Motorsports Park. Get yourself a hot bowl of that 100-mile-per-hour Shed Summit chili. Crack open a cold one, make some popcorn, get comfortable. We're going to have some pretty exciting racing for you here this evening in these open-wheel USF 2000s here at iRacing, the VRG VRL. And this is Ian Wisman with you here this evening. We hope you enjoy the show. Sit back, relax. We'll catch up with you here in just a little bit. So this might get a little confusing for you all watching out on YouTube and Facebook there, but tonight I have Ian Ditson joining me in the booth. So broadcasting this evening, you have Ian Wisbon and Ian Ditson. Ian, thanks for joining me up here in the booth this evening. I appreciate it. Kind of doing this one short notice and solo by myself. How you doing this evening?
I'm good at college, just chilling. So I'm happy to be here and happy to be broadcasting with you.
At college, just chilling. I'm sure there's many folks at home that, that wish they were at college just chilling.
Oh, yes.
So we're back here at Summit Point tonight, Ian, in the USF 2000s. This is the second race of Season 6 here, Sprint Racing Series. What do you think we're looking for here this evening?
I'm going to say this now, and I don't think I'm going to regret it, but I have a feeling we're going to see Stefan Vappa running away once again. He just looks so dominant in these cars based on the first week and even here now with that 109.9. I think it's going to be tough to keep up with him.
Yeah, I know. I was chasing him in the practice session. I guess that was Monday night, last night. And I was, despite my best efforts, still about a half second down from him. So I think he's got a solid chance of taking it this evening. Darren Treacle out there this evening. Now, we know Darren's not a big fan of the open wheel cars, but he's quick.
Oh, we know.
Do you think Darren can perhaps thread on the hammer and issue a challenge here to Stefan?
I think at this track it's very hard to pass at. It can't, down the main straight is an exception. But I think if you can get ahead of Stefan at the start of the race, you can play a pretty good wall, which Darren seems to do, blocking. I think we'll have a good race on our hands.
Well, that's what we're all hoping for here. We'd like to thank everybody that's joining us out there on YouTube and Facebook. Make sure you hit that like button, hit that subscribe, share with your friends. You hit the subscribe, the little bell on YouTube. It'll tell you when we're going live. Every Tuesday night we do this. We're going to be at Summit Point this week. I got to take a look at the schedule. I think we're at New Jersey Motorsports Park next week, but right now, Summit Point, lovely Summit Point, West Virginia. Shea Summit and that 100-mile-per-hour chili. We're going to zoom out here and pick up with, let's pick up with Stefan again, see how he's doing out here. How's your Tuesday treating you thus far, Ian? Are you in classes? How's that going for you?
Yeah, we started classes last week, and as you know at this point, I'm still stuck in quarantine till Sunday. Very uneventful. The whole not having social interaction got to me yesterday, finally, kind of hits after a while, but it's all good. Getting out soon, gonna be able to have a life again, I guess, but I wish I was back in the car at the moment.
You and I both. I'm not quite good enough at this to be able to drive and broadcast at the same time, but might have to take a crack at that one, because if nothing else, it would make it interesting, though I'm going to have to find a cough button to mute whenever I use an expletive, because, we want to keep it family-friendly and safe for the kids.
Yeah, I'll just we'll delay you a little bit, and then I'll just get a bleep button and just bleep it, like like we see in F1.
There you go.
They miss some every now and then.
Every now and again they do. We're going to try and roll up through the field here and get everybody on camera for just a little bit of time here, following around with Kurt Uzbek as he's getting those tires warmed up out there. Kurt picking up a little bit of pace as he's been practicing. We've had Thursday night practice sessions the week prior, and then Matthew Barber, who we're going to touch base with here in just a little bit, running a Monday night practice. So plenty of time to kind of get your feet wet in these cars. Now, Ian, you and I both have done a fair amount of racing in iRacing, and I know you've done a whole lot more than I have. We've done a lot of tin tops. We had a fun series in the Skippy 2000s. Now, tell me what your thoughts are on this USF 2000.
Really a good car. You learn a lot from it, honestly. I've spent a lot of time in this car doing most of what I've done is iRacing races, but typically very competitive. They run the baseline setup. Exactly what we do. It does get a little chaotic. Yeah. I struggle with it because of the, the low speed oversteer is what it gets. And high-speed understeer sometimes.
Yeah, it's definitely something I've struggled with. You know, I know I'm leaving time out on the track. I think a lot of that for me is in turn one. I'm either turning in too soon or I'm just pushing through the turn and scrubbing a lot of speed. In this complex we're watching Scott Kruger navigate through, I think that's perhaps Stefan just behind him. Difficult to keep the car balanced and, you know, keeping the power down because it's pretty easy to get that rear end breaking loose on you. And that's just time you're leaving.
Yeah, you got to be very, I don't want to say timid with the throttle, but definitely gentle. The rear end of the car will definitely come around on you, and into one I struggle with too. It's just, you're braking at like 2. And it's unheard of. Another problem I have... What? Go ahead, sorry.
No, I was just going to say, big difference from when we get into the GTE and the GT3 cars, you know?
Which is definitely where I'm more comfortable in bound. I usually do a lot better in those. But right there, that's a good example, actually, right there. Braking hard into... What corner is that?
Is that...
That was the left-hander coming down the hill.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have my problems there. I'll be braking and you don't think about it until the car's already turned around. You don't have the car straight going into the corner.
Couple of nice camera shots here as we can follow some of these cars coming up through turn 10, turn 9 just before they're navigating up the hill here. This little complex here, particularly trying to get the power down because you want to carry speed as you're coming out of the carousel there, but as we were just talking about, real easy to get the car unsettled. You know, push a little too hard if you turn in too hard. And this right-hander getting that nailed just right and allowing the car to track out so you can maintain the speed that you need coming out here in turn 10 to nail that super long front straight here at Summit Point. A lot to be learned here, and particularly as we've jumped around in cars, and like you said, we're, I think, all just generally a bit more comfortable in those sedans with the traction control and all the other accoutrements.
Except Stefan, who is just...
quick and everything.
Yep. But I found that, and I learned this at my first race at Summit, was you really got to carry all your speed from the carousel all the way through turn 10, and if you mess up one tiny bit, it affects even your speed out of turn 10.
Yeah, it's a good point. You don't, you know, you kind of want to exit this carousel and always be accelerating. You know, I found I'm generally going for a bit of a lift there if I'm a little too aggressive on my entry here into 9.
Yeah, me
same
too.
as just as you're coming out of the carousel, you're trying to accelerate and upshift, but you know, at the same time, you're trying to cut back across the course and really just balancing that grip that you get in these cars. There's aero, but you're not moving necessarily quick enough to take advantage of it down there. So,
Yeah.
really winds up being a challenging track, which Summit Point is always, you know, known to be a very challenging course.
Yeah, it's a very enjoyable, but the second you do something wrong, it can really get under your skin. And this corner too here can be really tricky in some cases. You go in a little too hot and put a wheel off in the gravel and you're in a wall.
It's a pretty unnerving turn in the sim. It's equally unnerving in the real world because it's a little hard to convey here, but we'll check it out once we get into the cockpit with somebody if they're coming up through it. But that left-hander is kind of effectively blind, so you're really just going on your instincts, you know, and knowing how the car handles to make sure that you know, take just enough of the speed off and turn in at the right time to really nail the apex. Otherwise, like you said, you're going to put a tire off in the dirt, and who knows where you're going to go from there.
Yeah, I remember my first weekend. Once again, I had the car twitch on me, and the whole thing just pushed right out to the gravel. Really, not the place I wanted to put the car off. But coming up to turn 10 again, especially in these cars, we didn't have a problem with it. In the GT cars, or even the Skippies, really, I never had a problem with it because of how high the ride height is. But you let that car float out, and if you don't let it slide out to the edge of the track coming out of 10, you're in for a ride without any power because you bottom the car out.
We're going to take a lap here with Darren Treacle. We'll see how he's doing. Currently, it looks like he's perhaps second quickest. Let me pull up best times.
Ooh, I like that gap.
Let's clear this one out, reset our timing tower here.
Top 3 are fairly close, actually.
Yeah, Mad Mike Kelly there. Recent addition here to the VRL, but he's been quick in his races thus far. You can catch Mad Mike Kelly on his Twitch stream. I'll have to ask him what that URL is, so the next time he's broadcasting we can check him out. Darren suffering from the cameraman's curse here. I apologize, Darren. Didn't mean to screw up your practice lap there. So let's jump in with Mike Kelly here and take a ride around with him.
You know, I believe that proved a point, Ian, about how tricky that sector is at the track. You got on the power a little too hard, and it just was not staying.
Yep. And we'll see how Mike handles this.
I'll try to find Mike's stream while we're... what? Right.
Now, turn 5 there at Summit, often called a throwaway turn, because there's not really a great way to enter it. Though I found here with the USF 2000s, if you stay to the far right of the track, you can generally get a pretty good entry to that turn and carry quite a bit more speed than one would typically anticipate.
Yeah.
And this is Wagon Bend here. And we'll see how Don handles this. Nice there through Wagon Bend. We'll see just how far right he's able to get through here.
He looked a little narrow coming into that corner.
He did. Taking a bit of a lift there, which is not uncommon. A lot of people take a breath there just to get the car settled because it really can get a little weird. Judicious application of the throttle there.
Yeah, I mean, he looks good, but that's my trick with that. With turn 9, I have a lot of problems, actually. You turn in slightly late, and you're hitting the curb in the wrong spot.
Yeah, that just the nose of that curb, you catch it just the wrong way, and it'll pop you up there and really just kind of throw you to the outside of the track, so not good there if you're trying to set a quick time. Just as a reminder, we're going to have 30 minutes of practice session here, and then we're going to go into a 15-minute solo qualifying, 3 laps in those qualifying sessions, and then we'll have 2 20-minute sprint races, the second race of which is going to be an inverted grid, so that should make this a pretty exciting endeavor here this evening.
Is it a full inverted, or is it the top 5 inverted?
I believe it's top 5 inverted. I'll have to check with the pace notes on that one.
I think this race will shape up to be a better one than I was expecting, with that gap between Darren and Stefan.
Yep, Darren's making some decent time here. Stefan a little bit slower here in this practice session, but you know, Stefan's one that likes to try and feel out the car in a couple of different situations. Not uncommon for him to head to the pits, put on a fresh set of tires, and then see just how hard he can push it on cold tires, because, you know, his first couple of laps are pretty dainty around here, and if you can find some pace on cold tires, you can really set yourself up for making some progress up through the grid. And certainly Stefan looking to gap folks on those first couple of laps. Yeah.
He typically has very good starts, and another thing that I found that he does, I think you would have noticed at this point, he definitely does not go full push in practice, but it sure seems like it. And he's still quicker than us, and then he finds another, 2/10 in qualifying?
Yeah, pretty impressive. Not really sure where he pulls it out of.
Oh,
bit of a unfortunate incident there for Darren. I'm starting to learn the lesson that sometimes when you put it off the track, sometimes best to just let physics and nature have its way with you, because oftentimes trying to pull it back on, you wind up a little tank slapper, and that just causes havoc for everybody else. Nice thing about iRacing, though, hit the escape button, head back to the pits, get a brand new car. Not like that in the real world, though, is it, Ian?
Oh, I wish it was. I wish it was, but I wish it wasn't at the same time, if that makes sense. That takes the excitement and behavior out.
So, I mean, you've been sim racing here for a while. Have you had much opportunity to go from the sim into the real world? Obviously, 2020 was a wash, but in prior years, have you found that the sim racing is improving your real world racing abilities?
So, yeah, actually it has. In 2019, when I had my first race at Summit, I had countless hours just pounding laps this track. And I don't remember what car, but just getting to learn the track and the feel for the track. Because a lot of these cars we can't translate to real life because most of us don't own them because of the price and a bunch of other reasons, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. But
sometimes it's as simple as a trailer and a truck to pull it, but also the cost of some of these things, certainly.
Yeah, like, these cars are expensive. I've seen them up close racing in person at Mid-Ohio, which was very cool, but I'd say learning Summit Point definitely translated from the sim to the track for my first weekend, and then just kind of driving cars that are similar to how your car should handle really help a lot and give you a better idea of what's going to happen if I do this. But in some cases, it doesn't really translate. So there's a gap, but at the same time, there isn't. So it's a weird mixture, and it's very hard to explain. It's helpful, and then it's fun.
Well, I know I went to the Turkey Bowl last year, 2020, obviously at Summit Point. I had not driven Summit Point in probably 3 years at that point.
You were out on break for a while, weren't you?
Yeah, I was. Generally, I do the Pittsburgh races, the Jefferson 500 sometimes, but, I got to work in the paddock, help out Scott, chief mechanic, B&W Autosport, do tech, give Tivy a hand, that kind of stuff. So 2020, I wound up getting back in the driver's seat at the Turkey Bowl in the BMW, a car I had driven before, but which had a new gearbox and uprated brakes on it. So a pretty unfamiliar car at this point to me. I luckily had been racing here at Summit in the sim because I was a little worried I wasn't going to remember which way things went. Not in like the sense that it's a left at the end of the front straight, but just that, kind of finding that line and finding those turn-in points and braking markers and things like that, which the sim was hugely valuable for, instilling that confidence. So that, I had one reconnaissance lap out in the pace lap, and I was immediately right back where I was the last time I was racing at Summit Point. So, yeah. Stefan going purple here these last couple of laps at the end of the practice session.
And this is exactly what I'm talking about. He always tends to do. Can I ask what car you used to relearn the track?
Well, I think just before Turkey Bowl, we were in the Skippy season.
Okay, yeah.
Which a lot of the guys here in the VRL really like because it's a pretty similar corollary to the vintage cars. It rotates. It doesn't have a ton of power. It's a momentum car, which a lot of the vintage cars wind up being. So it really lent itself well to that. I'd probably have a different opinion if we had raced nothing but, the GT cars or something like this USF 2000, because that's definitely not very similar to my 76 BMW.
Yeah, you can slide those things pretty good, can't you?
I'm sure you can when you don't have to be responsible for paying for it, should you bend it. So
True.
Now that's the end of our 30-minute practice session here, folks. We're going to go for 15 minutes of single lap qualifying here. Now, I've not actually broadcasted whenever we're doing this type of qualifying, so I'm not exactly sure how it looks to us as spectators.
As I remember, if it's the same as last time, we don't get to watch. That said, I can pop open the sim and watch and tell you what's going on.
Well, that sounds like a plan. I'm going to update our graphics while I have a bit of a break in the action here. Let's pull up the race info this evening. We're also going to take a look at the points here in just a moment, see where we stand here in the second race of our Season 6 Open Wheel Sprint Series.
So no Steve Focacci tonight?
No, not this evening. Steve's not going to be with us. I understand he had some work obligations he was getting caught up on.
Okay.
Certainly going to miss his presence. I was just going to say I was using his practice lap. Steve Focacci weekly puts out a kind of a hot lap to talk everybody around the course. Hugely valuable for whenever we get to these tracks, so people can learn how to drive them and be quick. I think Steve was at like a 109.4 something. So Stefan's within sniffing distance of that. Let's see what Matthew Barber's up to. Oh, we can watch qualifying.
Okay.
Just
Cool.
have to catch up with them when they're out on track. So we're with Matthew Barber right now, and I will throw out to Matthew. Matthew's going to be sponsoring some gifts here for the, prizes for the VRL. We have a trophy handcrafted by Stefan Vappa, a cut-up Saab 16-valve camshaft, and then Matthew Barber is going to make available some various customized VRG VRL glasses for our top 7 finishers here this season. So some nice camaraderie and a couple of nice trinket prizes here if you do well in the racing series. So if you're interested, stop by vrgonline.org. Get in touch with us. We can point you in the right direction to get a sim rig set up and come racing with us in iRacing.
More than happy to help and get you going. Yeah, this makes me almost wish I was at home right now. Well, I do wish I was at home so I wouldn't be in quarantine, but makes me wish I was running with the season.
Don't you now?
Well, you've done a race. I don't get to do any racing right now.
That's unfortunate. You should get a portable rig. See if you can find an old Logitech setup, and you may not be as fast as you typically are, but at least you can come racing.
Well, I mean, first 2 seasons we raced, I had the Logitech, I believe.
Pardon me for just a moment here, Ian, while I'm working with the graphics. So let's see. You started with Logitech. You're now on a Fanatec setup. Is that correct?
Yeah, wheel and pedals. It's the... I can't even remember what it is at this point. But it definitely improved. If it didn't improve times, it greatly improved consistency. So it's the CSL Elite wheelbase, and it has the Formula 1 wheel on it. Which I don't know that I'm in love with it. The wheel, that is. I like the base. The Alcantara is nice, but there's some things about it that could be better.
And I went from a Logitech G27, which I purchased from Darren Treacle himself, then built myself a direct drive Simucube wheel, but I'm still using the Logitech G27 pedals, and I think, you can't necessarily throw money at these things and immediately see improvements, but to your point, consistency, I think, is something that comes out of better equipment. You get better modulation in your throttle, your brake, and your clutch if you use the clutch. So I think that's going to be my next big thing. Maybe do some DIY hydraulic pedals here. We shall see.
Yeah, and if you don't want to, because I know those will end up being not cheap, we'll say. The Fanatec, or however you pronounce it, everyone pronounces it different. They run you about $100, and then about $200 once you get the load cell kit and everything.
So we're following along with Stefan Vappa here. Purple in Sector 1, but it looks like Darren Treacle is currently out on top. We'll try and bounce around here and see if we can pick out some more of these qualifying laps. There goes Stefan. Pipping Darren with a 109.542.
Yep.
So we'll stick with Darren here again. You get 3 laps total. I don't have a lap counter on the sessions. We have 15 minutes. You don't have to take all 3 laps right away, but you only get 3 laps, so...
Yeah, you're probably best to take all 3 laps when you're on them, because once you pit, it's a waste of a full lap. And by lap 2, your tires are probably at your best, and lap 3 is a little iffy at times. Get your banker in. Yep.
Stefan's got his hands full here.
Yeah, he's a little skatey right now.
Still quick in Sector 2, but not the quickest.
Who's the quickest in Sector 2 right now?
Well, it's not his personal best, but he is fast. Let's see who else we can pick out here. Darren Treacle's out on track, so we'll pick up with Darren here. Darren currently sitting in 2nd position, 1:09.898. So about 3/10 off of Stefan's quick time.
Am I the only one that hates the amount of dirt that gets covered on the visor?
You know, and it happens surprisingly quickly. Those that forget to map a tear-off button are in for a rough time.
Yeah, it's like black by the time you finish a race.
We'll watch Darren do his another qualifying lap there in the background. We're going to pull up our current point standings with the group. Stefan Vappa currently out on top right now with 25 points. Darren Treacle with 22 points. And Mad Mike Kelly there in 3rd place with 20 points. You can see running down the line there. Broadcast team of Steve Ficacci and Ian Wisbin. I'm currently sitting in 5th place.
Yeah, you looked good last race.
Thanks. VIR is a track I've never been to. I spent a fair amount of time learning it. And then, you know, a little disappointed in how I finished, but, you know, still learning. But I appreciate that.
Yeah. What are your thoughts on VIR?
You know, really a lot of fun. Pretty challenging. But I very much enjoyed it. I hope to go there in the real world someday. Benefit of going to VIR is Tivy Shenton's shop just down the road, so you can go see Tivy.
That'd be a freaking blast. I got to do tech with Tivy to get stuff signed off at pit races past year. The
man is a national treasure. We've got to share him with England, however. But we certainly love having him around. I'm sure you probably learned a few things. You probably learned a couple of colorful catchphrases as well. Would you say that's accurate?
Yeah, pretty accurate.
Yep.
It was a good time, though.
That it is. One of the things I look forward to, going to the racetrack, you know, racing obviously, but also spending time with Tivy and a lot of the other guys that we see out here today racing in the VRL. It's really a nice time. Keeps you out of trouble. Not necessarily friendly to the wallet, but hey, you can't take it with you in the end anyways.
I mean, is real racing friendly to the wallet, though?
Neither sim or real racing is friendly to the wallet, so...
Yeah.
I think this is Darren's probably his final qualifying lap here.
If it's not, he just uses the rest of the time to practice.
So it's a 15-minute qualifying session, and as Ian noted, Darren may just be out getting in a couple extra practice laps here. Well, it looks like everybody else might be back in the pit lane. Being an admin of the series, I can advance this session, but it was pointed out very astutely by Stefan Vappa that some folks like to use this extra time here in the qualifying sessions to visit the water closet, perhaps freshen their beverage, basically get ready for the upcoming races. So we're going to let this one play out here. We'll sit and ride along with Darren as he gives it some welly here around Summit Point. And just idle away the time. So about 5 more minutes left here in this qualifying session. Then we're going to do 2 20-minute sprint races. And as Ian pointed out, we're going to have an inverted grid. I think it's the top 5 are going to be inverted in that second race. So going to be a challenge. Whoever wins this first race is going to be back in the pack a little bit and that can always be problematic there at the starts and in those first couple of laps. And we've seen a fair amount of virtual carnage, would you say?
Yeah, especially at this track, we tend to have some issues, even though this is the one we seem to race most in real life. Yeah, we did that. See, we tested this at Sebring initially, and just yikes! I was in for a bit of a treat that night. Ran away with the race, and then got clobbered in the second heat. But enjoyable format. It made me work through for a little bit until the incident happened. But hey, it is what it is, and you move on with life.
Adds a little more spice to it. Practice session last night was a one-lap flyer, so kind of old-style Formula One qualifying. I probably had a lap time that would have qualified me in second place, but I unfortunately had an off-track, which of course nullifies the lap. So
yeah,
unfortunate for me, but it happens.
I remember when we raced the GT3 stuff in our first season. Someone had an off track, and this was my biggest frustration ever. There was something incorrect, and they did an off track, and you could see because it had the little asterisk next to it, and the lap still counted, and I got outed. Darren's practicing some starts here.
Practicing some race starts, which is it is going to be a standing start, I do believe. Though a bit of a roll of the dice on that one. We've flip-flopped between standing starts and rolling starts, so this may be all for naught, but good to practice nonetheless. Because
Which
it can. Well, I like the excitement of a standing start. Allows you to live a little bit of that Formula One dream. But unless you intentionally practice it, much as Darren is doing right here, these cars can be a bit of a handful. You might get it off the line quick, but if you're not careful, real easy to get that car to break loose. And when you're in the kind of the grid formation, you're going to take a lot of people with you.
Yeah, these cars are not meant to do standing starts. They're part of that Mazda Road to Indy series, so they're doing rolling starts, prepping for IndyCar. And you typically would see the F3 cars in comparison a lot easier to do a standing start, as they don't really spin the tires ever.
Either way, starts can be a challenge, even with the rolling starts. The nice thing about Summit here is you've got a decent run of track to get everybody kind of squared away in 2x2. Some of the other tracks are a bit more difficult or a bit more hairy when you get to that start-finish line. The green flag flies. Just a couple of more minutes here in qualifying. 15-minute qualifying session here. We're going to let everybody take that 15 minutes. And then we'll pick up with our first 20-minute sprint race of the evening here. Summit Point Motorsports Park. This is the VRG Virtual Racer League. My name is Ian Wisbon, and I am joined in the booth this evening by Ian Ditson. So you've got Ian squared this evening. And Ian, thank you again for joining us all the way from college.
Yeah, happy to be here.
Tearing yourself away from, I'm sure intense studying. It's a Tuesday night, so there's probably not, in this day and age, there's not really house parties, but in a normal world, there's probably some trouble to be had on a Tuesday night. But thank you for joining us here. I appreciate it, and you keeping me company up here for sure.
Yeah, I enjoy it. Surprised at how much I enjoyed it on that first week with Jim.
It is a good time. We're all learning as we go here. Certainly not pros at it, but it's fun to watch everybody out there racing and talk a bit about it. And I learn more about the track, and I think I take away a few things every time that I'm seeing the quick guys do out on track, and I try to apply that to the next time I'm in this seat. So, yeah,
it definitely helps.
So we're coming down. The checkered flag has flown here on this qualifying session. We'll pull up our grid here once we get official timing and scoring. And then we'll pick up once everybody gets to grid. I can
So
hear the
is
cars
it
lining up now.
Is it a rolling or a standing today?
Well, I don't see a pit car out there, so I think we're going to find out here pretty quickly. Pace car is not out there. It looks like it's going to be a standing start. So let's run through the starting grid real quick here. The VRL Open Wheel Sprint Series at Summit Point Motorsports Park. The Jefferson Grand Prix. Pole position, Stefan Vappa. Outside of pole, Darren Treacle. Third place, Don LeBayer. Fourth place, Mad Mike Kelly. Fifth place, Scott Kruger. We got Clark Orsterman, 6. Dave Curtis, P7. John Wood, Dipasport, P8. Rob Hines in 9th. John Clark, 10th. Matthew Barber in 11th place. Jim Graziano in 12th. We got Bob Lang in 13th. Mac McCormick, 14th. Kurt Uzbey in 15th. Eric Russell, 16th. Ralph Solomon in 17th. And Carlos Bonds in 18th. Looking for an exciting race here this evening. Stefan there out on front. Looking like we're waiting for Darren Treacle to grid up here, and we are going to get rolling. Darren probably went for a short water break. Expect him to be back here soon.
Definitely takes his time getting on grid. I just now noticed that Rob Hines. Wow. It's been a while seeing him out there.
Pulling up our points real quick. We got Stefan Vapp out on top with 25 points. In second place is Darren Treacle. Third is Mike Kelly. Fourth, Steve Ficacci. And 5, myself, Ian Wisbon. Neither Steve or I are racing this evening, so there's points to be had there and climb their way up the leaderboard here. I'm sure Stefan's looking to take a win, and we'll see if Darren can challenge him for that this evening here at Summit Point. So we're going to have a 20-minute sprint race session here. Following that, we're going to have another 20-minute sprint race, inverting the grid just a little bit to mix things up. So this should be a good time. Now, Darren is the grid. I expect the green flag. The lights are going to come up. We'll go green. Green flag is out. Stefan Vappa gets a nice jump. So does Darren. Don LeBayer, a little slow to get away. Trouble there in the back. Looks like we got some mix-ups there toward the back of the pack. Mad Mike Kelly in third place. We're going to pick up here as we enter into turn 1. Stefan Vappa. Clean through 1. Darren Treacle just behind. Mad Mike Kelly. Scott Kruger there, fourth place, just distance a little bit back from Mike. Jump back up to our leader here. We'll watch him and Darren go through Wagon Bend. Mike Kelly close behind Darren. Cold tires out here, but it looks like most everybody's okay. We'll pull up the map here in just a little bit, see how everybody's doing. Down through the chute and into the carousel here. Clean into that turn. No bindings of the brakes. It seems like everybody's all right now on this first lap out. Darren staying close to Stefan. Doesn't want him to get away because Stefan can really make haste when he needs to.
Yeah, the tables have kind of turned since the early seasons with Darren running out front, and now it's Darren chasing Stefan.
I'm sure he'd tell you it's because of these damned open wheel cars.
Yeah, I agree with that.
First time start finish here. Stefan Vappa completing that first lap out in the lead. Darren Treacle behind Mike Kelly, Scott Kruger, Don LeBayer, John Wood, Dave Curtis, John Clark, Bob Lang, and Jim Graziano, our top 10 racers at the moment. Go ahead, Ian.
I love how flat the cars look through the corners. It's really impressive.
They do look well hooked up, and as Ian mentioned earlier, we're running a baseline setup here, so really the only thing you can tweak is the brake bias. It's to keep the field even, so you can't have a hot setup, and we're generally all on the same page there. It comes down to driver ability. Down into the carousel here. We're going to bounce back through the rest of the grid and see how everybody's doing. Darren chasing Stefan through the carousel. Mike Kelly falling off just a little bit. I expect Mike will catch up in just a bit.
He's definitely more comfortable when the tires are full. As most are.
As most are.
He just seems to come into a different level, I guess, of himself when the tires are pumped up.
John Wood down into turn 1, sporting that Dipasport livery. Looks like that might have been Scott Kruger, went off on the outside of 1 there, had to take the escape road.
Yeah, not a fun ride going out there. I'd say he'd probably catch back up. And it looks like Kurt saved it.
Bob Lang there just behind Kurt. Get back here to Rob Hines. Looks like Rob's fallen back a little bit. We'll see how everybody's done since the start of this race here. Bit of movement there through the middle of the pack. Kurt Uzbek picking up 6 spots there after the start. Kurt working on that hard charger award. We've got Carlos Bonds also charging up from the back of the pack there. Unfortunately, I think we got a couple of folks in the pit, I think, from that start of the race, Kerfluffle.
Yeah, Ralph Solomon and...
I think that's Eric Russell. Who else we got down there? Matthew Barber, I think, is also in there as well. Let's jump back up to our leaders here. We got Darren Treacle. Bit of space between him and Stefan at this point.
Already up to 1.5 seconds.
A bit more excitement a little bit further back. Dave Curtis currently running right behind John Wood. Let's jump in the cockpit with Dave and see how it looks from his point of view.
A little aggressive onto the grass through 10.
And amazing how much extra speed you can carry if you're willing to drive up over that curb and run on that little bit of extension of pavement. Not too far, though, because, you know, drop a tire in the dirt and it kind of generally just screws you up there.
It either sucks you in or you bottom out. Not a good time.
And then you've got all that time down the front straight to think about braking for turn 1. And generally...
I mess one up, too.
Yeah, I generally have a pretty stern discussion with myself on the way down there, thinking how I'm going to do it differently this time. But consistency's key.
Yeah, if I mess up bad enough on one lap, I found that you just gotta give yourself a lap to reset your thought process on it. If the lap sucks, you kind of move on with it, and you get at it the next one. And Don looks like he's sliding all over the place, having one hell of a time.
John caught him up real quick. Let's see how this works out through turn 10. Dave may ultimately benefit from this. Yep. So both John and Dave making away Don LeBayer. Thought for a second Dave was going to take both of them.
I did too. That would have been very interesting. John a little bit later on the brakes, but a little too late maybe.
Pick up a nice artistic shot as these two work their way through 3. Jump back up there with them. Don's coming back. Kind of a risky place to stick your nose there as you're coming down through the chute.
Yeah, I've made it past there, and I've made more accidents there than I have past, though.
Dave with a touch of a lock up there. Don looks like he's able to capitalize, and John's making a bit of distance on them there. I'm going to jump back down the grid here a little bit. We got Matthew Barber. Is he out ahead of this pack here?
Yep. He is.
Running back a little bit there, obviously in 16th place. Unfortunate for Matthew.
I think we're at 1.7 second gap to Stefan now. Do you think we'll see a mistake or highly unlikely?
I would say it's highly unlikely. You know, whether Stefan tries to negotiate for a better starting position in the second race, if the grid's going to be inverted, we shall see. But I don't really expect Stefan to just give it away. We're probably looking at the finishing order here. It looks like we're on lap 7 of 10. This is a 20-minute session, of course. I think we run the laps out before the time's up. That's it. We shall see. Mike Kelly, nothing but open air around him, so it looks like third place is safe for him unless he has an unforeseen incident.
But he seems to be driving very smooth. And Don got around Dave? Yeah.
John Wood running wide there.
Oof.
We'll have to pick up that replay, see what happened to him.
Yeah, just a little too aggressive into 10, and oof, what a save.
Good save. I wasn't really expecting him to pull that one out, but that explains why he wound up where he was.
Yeah. With John Clark nipping at his heels now, right?
I believe so. I'm back here to Bob Lang. He's chasing Carlos Bonds.
Always has a fun livery.
Yeah, it looks like Carlos might be running some kind of a sticker bomb. Not his typical Sanrio Hello Kitty. Carlos, unfortunately, running off there at the entrance into the carousel.
Very easy to do when you're pushing. Darren and Stefan are now at 2 seconds.
Stefan's starting to get into some traffic here. This might be where Darren can capitalize if he's not able to get around this here quickly. Eric Russell slowing him up probably just a little bit. Yep, because the interval's coming down.
Yeah, traffic at this track is very complicated. You run into it so fast, and there's not always a good place to get around. But I think Darren ran into traffic at a worse time.
Yeah, had he been able to get around him at the same time Stefan did, they probably could have capitalized and not lost time. Stefan's managed to now extend that gap back to where it was. We'll pick up with Stefan here and see what happens as he comes around. Working lap 9 of 10. Let's see if it's a white flag when he comes around or if we're going to run this one out to the full 20. And the white flag does appear to be out. We'll see if that's true. Timing and scoring sometimes be a little flaky here.
Looks like Dave Curtis has made a mistake. He just dropped back behind John Wood and John Clark.
Watching our race leaders come down here into 5. John Clark catching up to John Wood here.
Things finish as they are. John's going to be starting on pole, correct?
I'm not sure exactly how far back the yeah, if it's top 5 inverted, then John Wood's going to be pole position next race. Now, timing and scoring is showing his checkered flag here. I believe that to be the case because it looks like Stefan's backed out of it. Yep. So that is the end of this first 20-minute sprint race here. 10 laps. Stefan Vappa taking the win here. Followed behind by Darren Treacle. Darren was not terribly far off of Stefan, but sometimes 3/10 is leagues of distance in these cars that are so closely matched with some extremely talented drivers, particularly in Stefan, who is always quick and rarely makes a mistake.
Yeah, he just controlled that race to a T.
And we'll pick up with Clark Orstrom here, and we'll rotate through everybody as they come back through. Clark Orstrom coming through to take his checkered flag.
And who else do we have to finish?
Scott Kruger's coming around. We got Mac McCormick.
And that should be it for this one. So exciting first race, and on to the next one.
We'll have another 20-minute or 10-lap sprint race here. as everybody gets gridded up here. John Wood is starting out in pole position here. So we're going to invert the top 5 of the finish of the last race. So we have another 20-minute sprint race coming up here. Going to mix things up a bit. So that means Stefan Vappa, our race winner there in the first 20-minute sprint session, is going to start in 5th place. So let's see if we can, I'm not sure if I'm going to get grid here. Yep, we'll run through that real quick. John Wood out in pole position here. Don LeBayer in 2nd. Mad Mike Kelly in 3rd. So Mike starts where he finished. Darren Treacle in 4th. And Stefan Vappa, our previous race winner, in 5th place there. John Clark 6th. Dave Curtis 7th. Rob Hines 8th. Bob Lang in 9th. Carlos Bonds in 10th. Jim Graziano there in 11th position. Clark Orstrom in 12th. Running down just a little bit further. Scott Kruger 13th. Mac McCormick 14th. Kurt Oosbay 15th. Matt Barber 16th. Ralph Solomon 17th. And Eric Russell there in 18th position. We're going to be bringing up the green lights here in just a few moments. Probably waiting for... looks like everybody's gridded. The lights are up. Wait for those to go out. We're going to go racing here again. 10 laps, 20 minutes. Sprint race to the end. Let's see who wins this one.
Green flag, green flag.
Green flag has dropped. John Wood gets himself off there pretty cleanly. Stefan hot off the jump. Right behind Darren.
Right to the outside. And it looks like Darren got away a little bit better than like Kelly did. Little contact there.
John Wood leading everybody into the Wagon Bend for the first time. Don LeBayer in 2nd position. We got Darren Treacle in 3rd, Mike Kelly in 4th, and Stefan Vappa in 5th. Tightly packed here. We'll see what's going to happen. Our racers come down to turn 5 down into this carousel here. Everybody clean the second race. John Wood, unfortunately, had an off there. Looks like he might have locked up and skidded off in the middle of the carousel. Don LeBayer is our new race leader. Mad Mike Kelly in 2nd. Stefan Vappa in 3rd. Dave Curtis. Where did Darren Treacle go?
Yeah, I was just about to say that.
Darren had an off track. We'll go back and check that once we get another lap or so into this race here.
That should definitely be entertaining to see the charge that we get out of Darren. He just vanished.
He did just vanish.
All the way down to 17th. Okay, that makes more sense. I think he pitted.
John Clark currently running in 5th place. Carlos Bonds just behind him. Sounded like we had some bumping and some shaking there as we entered the carousel, but Don LeBayer still out in 1st place here. Stefan Vappa just behind him.
Ooh, little twitch out of there. Caught the grass on the exit. And Darren is just getting out of the pits as they're coming back around.
Pick up inside Mike Kelly's cockpit here as he's looking up Stefan Vappa just ahead and Don LeBayer, our race leader, ahead of him. Mike's going to benefit from a bit of a draft here. As you can see, he's ever so closely sneaking up there on Stefan. A little ginger here into 1. Don looks like he's getting a little bit loose.
I may not love these cars, but that said, the draft is just immense and unmatched anywhere else you go that we've raced so far.
Inside of Don there into 5.
I thought he was going to just stick it in there.
Looking out at the back of Don, Stefan and Mike Kelly behind him. Following along with our race leader right now.
I think we're going to end up with a move into 1.
Maybe sooner.
Yep.
Looks like Stefan was able to carry more momentum out of that turn than Don was. He's able to run him down the front straight here and tuck in just before the braking zone here for 1.
He's a lot later on the brakes than generally everyone else in the 1.
We'll zoom out here. We'll run down the grid just a little bit, see where our next closest racers are. Let's pick up with John Wood, who was on pole position, had a shunt going down into the carousel. Let's jump back up and see what happened to Darren Treacle. Find out where he went earlier in this race. Not far enough back to catch what happened. Let me see if we can go back just a little bit further.
Definitely a big crunch. Ooh.
Looks like Darren was just trying to avoid John Wood there as they were turning into the carousel, and unfortunately went straight off and hit the tire wall. Unfortunate there for Darren.
Yeah, the way he got off the line at the start, I was expecting a bit of a race with him and Stefan this time around.
Carlos Bonds trying to take the inside line there on John Clark. John's able to carry more momentum around the outside there and keep Carlos behind. Rob Hines all over John Wood's gearbox.
It's good to have Rob back.
It is good to have Rob back.
Yeah.
Rob and go ahead.
Who else were we missing for a while?
Tough to say. Haven't been looking at the timing tower in recent races. I had my head behind the wheel. But Rob, of course, like Darren Treacle, went out to the SCCA runoffs last year, and both were very successful. Rob running a Spec Miata in a field of something like 83 cars, which is insane.
That is a number.
Stefan's able to pull away here. Don LeBayer in second place. Mike Kelly in third, though Mike is keeping with Don. We shall see how that works out here towards the end of this race.
You're going to see a move from Carlos in the background again.
Working lap 6 to 10 here.
It looks like Stefan has got down to those 109 fours.
Mac McCormick out in a car which to me is kind of reminiscent of the Braun GP livery.
Yeah, now that you say that, I never looked at it that way.
Ralph for joining us this evening. I know Ralph took a bit of time off there. Is really wrenching at that wheel, and I think causing his shoulders to have some issues, which I find myself. I too get up and out of the sim, and it's like I've been in a proper race car all evening long.
Yeah, I know the feeling, especially when you spend crazy amounts of time on it. It looks like Rom has fallen back a little bit.
A little bit squirrely there coming out of one.
But he saved it.
Picking back up here with Mike Kelly and Don LeBayer. Stefan full 3.5 seconds ahead of these two. Looks like he's going to run away with a second win here this evening. The Jefferson Grand Prix at Summit Point Motorsports Park, the VRG Virtual Racer League. Ian Wisman and Ian Ditson in the broadcast booth with you this evening. We appreciate all of you joining us out there in YouTube and Facebook land. We got, looks like 10 people watching on YouTube and 4 on Facebook. We certainly appreciate it. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button on YouTube. Get notifications on YouTube every time we go live. Tuesday nights, it'll let you know, so you can make sure to sit down with your favorite drink and snack and watch some exciting racing here on the VRL. And Facebook friends certainly appreciate any shares and likes you may have. Don goes wide outside of one, and Mike Kelly is able to capitalize and take second position there on Don's error. I'm sure Don is saying not nice things to himself right now, unfortunately for Don.
Fortunately for Mike, though, that puts him in even better points.
That it does.
After this race, I assume that we're going to see Stefan in P1 in the championship and Mike Kelly right behind. What do you think?
I would say that's probably the case. It sounds like we might have had a bit of a shunt down in turn 1 here. A little bit of Mac McCormick and Ralph Solomon there getting tangled up. Mac's able to get away from it, as does Ralph, without any damage to the cars. Just a couple of laps remaining here in this second 20-minute sprint race. Mike Kelly pulling away from Don LeBayer here. We'll touch base here with Stefan Vappa.
Stefan is almost a 6-second gap.
A 1:09.445 here in this race session for Stefan. Pull up our weather conditions real quick. Take a look, see what we're looking at here. 78 degrees outside, 56% partly cloudy. Track temperature 105 degrees. Obviously conducive to Stefan's pace this evening.
That you didn't tell me about. I think these two are going to shape up to be quite an interesting final lap.
I agree. I can totally see Carlos giving it all the welly here as they come around on this final lap.
Both drivers really pushing on this final lap. Maybe a move up from the inside. Not the best place. Trying to stick your nose in, but
yep,
definitely worth the effort.
John blinking out there just a little bit, but he's got a bit of a gap on Carlos, so we see how this works out as they come around and take the white flag. Last lap here for our second 20-minute sprint race. Carlos getting a run on John off of turn 10. John trying to shake the slipstream there. Carlos pulls out. We'll see if he's able to pull up alongside and take him down into one.
It's looking like we're going to get a move.
Carlos
Nice
taking
move.
that inside line.
Sweet. That was a good pass.
Amazing how much harder and slower you got to brake, and then how much more difficult it is to really power out of there because you're on the dirty side of the track and the car just doesn't necessarily want to hook up.
He got it done, though. It was a good, nice little inside pass.
John's not relenting, but I think Carlos probably has this one in hand as they work their way through the carousel. We're going to pick up with our race leader, Stefan Vappa here. He's going to come around turn 10 to take the checkered flag here. His second win this evening in our back-to-back 20-minute sprint race series. Handily walking away with this one, 6.5 seconds over second place. Race winner there, Stefan Vappa. Will pick up Mike Kelly as he comes around to take his checkered flag, pulling over to the pit lane to say hey and get a little bit agricultural.
You know, he loves testing crashes in these cars.
That he does. So it's going to work out. Stefan Vappa in first place, Mike Kelly in second place, Don LeBayer finishing third, Carlos Bonds in fourth. Nice drive there for Carlos. And John Clark in fifth place. John Wood started in pole position, finishing sixth place after an unfortunate shunt there.
Carlos seeming to have a little bit of fun in the grass. Frustrating race for Darren, though.
Certainly, I'm sure he's not very happy with that, but you know, it is what it is sometimes. That's racing, but we'll see if he's available to talk to after this race. So that's going to wrap it up a little bit earlier than we usually do here with this new format we have in our sprint race series.
It looks like Darren pulled off 11th coming out of that last corner, though.
I'm sure he's going to want to get it back next week.
Yeah, and Mac does not have a front wing.
So we're going to pull up our standings here in just a couple of moments. It's going to take me a minute to get the update for next event. Right. I'm going to send that data. We're going to update our championship standings here. I don't know that that absolutely worked. Let's try that one more time. Might have to work on these points tallies. Oh, current. That's what we want. Not before. We want current. Still not right. I'll fix it for the next race. Anyways, Stefan Vappa, your race winner here this evening. Let's pull up our race results. We can take a look at this, and then Ian and I are going to take a break for just a short moment and bring in our race winners here for a bit of post-race chat. Again, we'd like to thank everybody out there in YouTube and Facebook land for tuning in. Certainly appreciate that. Alrighty. Your race winner here in the second race, Stefan Vappa. Second place, Mike Kelly. Third place, Don LeBayer. Fourth place, Carlos Bonds. And fifth place, John Clark. So Ian and I are going to step out of the booth for just a moment. We're going to see who's available in the Discord chat server, and we'll be right back with you in just a couple of minutes for the post-race interviews. All right, so Ian and Ian are back in the broadcast booth, and we have a couple of racers from tonight's action here, the Jefferson Grand Prix at Summit Point Motorsports Park with the VRG Virtual Racer League. We've got race winner Stefan Vappa in here taking both races this evening. We've also got our, sixth place finisher in the second race, John Wood, our pole sitter for that second race. And we've also got 11th place finisher and sitting outside, Darren, I think, what were you, P4 in qualifying for the second race? Unfortunately coming in P11 here this evening. Stefan, we'll kick it off with you. Back-to-back in these two 10-lap sprint races. How'd you find the track, and how were your drives this evening?
Track was fine. Drives actually went quite well. Actually, I think the track was pretty good. The interesting race, obviously, was the one with the reverse grid. That one, I did not expect to win that one because everybody was so close in the times. And these cars, I've come to find out, they really lose grip in the draft. So a couple of the key places, obviously the final corner getting onto the main straight, and especially through the carousel, the car wants to wash out, and it's really difficult to get good grip on the front end coming out of there. So that's great if you're in front, and not so great if you're trying to pass somebody. So I figured a couple things out that I would try, and at least one of those worked. So found myself up front again, and then it's easier to stay in front than it is to get there.
Yeah, I think that's probably pretty accurate. John, I guess we'll punt to you then, since you started out in front for that second race there. But just as Stefan just said, that carousel can be real difficult when it comes down to, traction and keeping the car on the road. So why don't you tell us a bit about that second race there and how it went for you?
Oh, the first 4 turns went fantastic for me. And then after I went around turn 5, I think I mashed the throttle just a little too quickly. That induced some wheel spin, and that took me left, and everybody passed by me. I drove through the grass, and I went around and tried to keep it together and ended up, I think, in 6th. But obviously those are sort of disappointing moments when you give it up like that.
Yeah, certainly up here in the booth, we were gutted, and then we noticed that Darren wasn't where he was before turn 5, and had to go back a couple of laps later and see exactly what happened. And it looks, Darren, like you might have been trying to avoid a sliding John Wood and had an unfortunate shunt of your own. Why don't you fill us in?
I'm sorry to hear that, but go ahead.
Well, it wasn't your doing, John. Yeah, well, race 1, went okay. Stefan was out front as I expected he would be. I had a little, the rear came around on me a little bit coming out of turn 1, which I lost a little time there. But then I had a little help from some of the back markers that didn't want to let me by. So that put us a little bit further apart. But all in all, it was a good race. Second race, didn't even make it the first lap. I was trying to avoid John. I saw him going off, so I backed it off a little bit. Was going to wait for him to go back across the track, and I get hit from behind. It
Oops.
damaged the car enough, knocked me off the track into the wall. And I think I hit the wall, but damaged the car enough that I had to limp back into the pits to do a fast repair. I mean, at that point, it was too far gone for me to do anything. So.
Yeah, not a lot of time in this 10 lap sprint format that we've got, which is certainly unfortunate, Darren, because you're challenging Stefan, and I'm sure had he seen you in his mirrors, may have changed the end results here this evening. But still some pretty exciting stuff. Ian, any thoughts or comments on this evening's action?
Stefan controlled the race. I mean, in the first one, really controlled race, and the second one, kind of a messy first corner with Kurt. I noticed a little bit of contact, not with any of you, obviously, but there was some contact for him. And then Darren's incident was a shame to see. I think we would have shaped up to see a pretty good race in race 2. I think had you been able to not have that incident, I guess, you and Stefan would have shaped up to have a pretty good one, because you're pretty good at making that car wide, like I've said in the past.
Well, I mean, I figured that was my best shot, because he started off behind me. So yeah, could have potentially ended up being but I was trying to be patient, to get through the first lap without much of an incident.
Everyone tells me patience is key, and you see what patience does?
Every time I'm patient, something happens.
That's
Something
the
happens.
same thing for me. I'm like,
I got to
why
go
am I
back to
patient?
my just send it attitude. And
Exactly.
No, you were fine, and you had your evasion figured out. It's just Mike was so close and trying to stay close that he didn't leave himself enough room to take any kind of evasive action when you had to. So
yeah.
But yeah, it would have been a good race otherwise, because it's a tough track to pass at with these cars washing out in the final corner.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, I mean it's unfortunate. Obviously, you kind of got collected there in the start of that second race, Darren. But notable, first race I think we had some back of the pack start issues. But second race everybody was clean and green for the most part. Obviously, turn 5 being an exception. But largely the field came together. Unfortunate in that it is such a short race. So I think, Darren, to your point, maybe the just send it attitude, given the number of laps you have to work with, might be the prudent choice here, because you don't necessarily have the time to be patient. And I can't figure out whether I should be patient or just send it, because I seem to get bit both ways, but that's probably a lack of experience. But regardless, still some exciting stuff up here.
Yeah, well, this car is a little tricky on cold tires. So at least I think it is anyway.
Oh, it is.
Yeah.
It warms up quickly, but those first few corners are definitely tough.
Oh, yeah.
It's particularly loose at that point, and the bottom of the chute is always your loosest corner, because it's the slowest. That whole carousel complex is loose. It wants to come back around on you all the time. But I heard on the radio there was some kind of frustration going on there in the second race. I think somebody actually was in pain.
Yeah, sometimes I wish we had the radio feed going, but we got to kind of keep it family friendly here. That's not to say that it's all expletives, from green flag to checkered flag, but it also allows you guys to have your race and communicate accordingly. But all things considered, looked like it was a fun time out there. I got to tell you, I practiced a whole lot leading up to this race. I got the call about maybe an hour and change beforehand, letting me know I was going to have to broadcast. I was flirting with the 109.6.
Oh, nice.
So,
Very good.
I was really hoping to be able to, jump in there and maybe give you a little something to think about. But I guess this just means I got to go push myself over at New Jersey Motorsports Park coming up next Tuesday night and see what I can do there in one of these cars. So,
Oh, wow. We haven't been there in a while.
no, we
What are your
haven't.
thoughts going into it?
Oh, my. I'm trying to think about the track and the various corners.
I think it'll be interesting up through turn 2 with that over the hill and having to slow down slightly before it, because even though these are aero cars, I found that they're not capable of going full throttle through there, and also not capable of really driving on those curbs on the outside of the track.
I have the same strategy that I've had each week so far.
You're just
Come
gonna send
Tuesday,
it.
that will be my Tuesday will be my practice, my qualifier, and my race.
So that's what I do.
Wow.
Yep.
I really have to concentrate on this stuff.
As do I, Ian. As do I.
Yeah, I generally take
Darren-
a peek at Racers Online whenever I'm there to see who else is toiling away.
Is it ever, Darren, do you ever wonder if maybe we should start practicing or no?
I can't do it.
Yeah,
Not
I
with this
totally
car.
get it.
Not with this
No.
car.
I totally get that.
Well, I practice in the open wheel, and then I take a couple of laps in a tin top just to make sure I don't forget my roots. So I kind of feel you there, Darren. Well, generally, I think all in all, it was a fun race here this evening at Summit. Darren, unfortunate. Same to you, John, because you looked quick there, starting out on pole with nothing but clear air ahead of you. Maybe better tidings for the both of you next week when we head to New Jersey Motorsports Park. Any closing thoughts from our racers here this evening? Stefan, you got anything you want to add?
I'm really glad that the reverse grid format worked out this week. That was exciting and interesting.
Me
So-
too.
Well, it worked out for you, obviously.
Well, I mean, we got 2 races in instead of 1. That was fun.
It was fun.
You just like the double points.
That was also nice.
You have to say it. Just be honest with us. Come on.
No, that was also nice. But yeah, I really enjoyed it. Obviously, no reason for me not to. But thanks to everybody for a great race.
It was fun. Good job.
Thank you.
All right, gentlemen. Well, we appreciate you joining us here in the broadcast booth. Ian, you have any closing thoughts before we kick everybody out and shut the stream down?
Congrats on the win, Stefan. Sorry you had a tough race, Darren, and hopefully we have a better start next time, John.
I'll work on it.
All right, cool.
Very good.
Thanks.
Thanks, Ian.
All right, everybody. Have a good evening.
Thanks, dueling Ians.
Yes, evil Ian and good Ian. It's up to you to decide which is which. All right, gentlemen. Have a good evening.
All right. Take care. See ya.
Good night.
Right.
All right, so now it's just the Ians here in the broadcast booth. Ian, certainly I thank you very much for joining me up here this evening. It's been a lot of fun having you here and talking with you throughout the course of the evening. I'll hopefully be out on track next week, but certainly if I'm back here in the booth and you don't have anything to do, happy to have you back up here.
Yeah, for sure. Hopefully you're back out on track next weekend, really putting the fight up with Stefan and Darren. And we'll get you back in the points.
There you go. All right, sir. Well, I'm going to wrap up over on the stream side. I, again, appreciate you joining me up here this evening, and we'll talk to you real soon. Thanks, Ian.
All right, thanks for having me. Have a good
Yep.
night.
You too. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that's going to wrap it up for Myself, Ian Wisman, my co-host this evening, Ian Ditson, the VRG Virtual Racer League. We were at Summit Point Motorsports Park tonight for the VRG VRL Jefferson Grand Prix. Catch us next week starting Tuesday at 8 p.m. where we're going to be at New Jersey Motorsports Park. I didn't add that graphic to my ending slide here, but that's what I get for setting this up about an hour before broadcast. So next week, New Jersey Motorsports Park and the USF 2000s with the VRG Virtual Racer League. We'll kick things off at 8 p.m. Same format. Should be some exciting stuff. So get yourself a beverage, make yourself a snack, sit down and join us out there on YouTube and Facebook land. Hit the like, hit the subscribe, hit the notifications button. It'll let you know whenever we're going live. Share with your friends, bring the family. And if you want to come join us, swing by vrgonline.org, get in touch, and come join us out in the sim. Thanks, everybody, and have a good evening. This is Ian Wisman signing off for the VRG.